Welcome to the Mom Founders Table. Pull up a chair and join me every week as I become your thought partner and help you lead to create change. I'm your host, Kelsey Kenry, entrepreneur, millionaire mom of three, and strategic business coach for established mom entrepreneurs. Every week, you will get tactical guidance to apply to your business, leadership, and life that will help you further your true success while also being invited into a new way of thinking and being that creates true freedom. I'm here to call you out and call you up, so take a seat and let's begin. Have you ever hit any milestone that you worked incredibly hard for, and then you found yourself just instantly moving on to what was next? I know that I have. I know that all of my clients have. I know that the addiction to hustle and the desire for more, bigger, and better is incredibly real. And what's interesting is that you get to a point where you're recognizing that you keep growing, but it doesn't feel any different. It feels like something's off. It still feels like something's missing. And just hanging out in the back of your mind is, what is it all for? And we quiet that voice time and time again and don't answer that question, because the reality is we need wealth. We need financial security. We need financial freedom to be able to have the lives that we want. But when you get to a point to where it's like, I've done all these things, I've hit all these milestones, now what? And we keep answering the now what with the next biggest thing that sometimes isn't even our own. We chase the bigger revenue goal year after year. Everything is about bigger, and we're forgetting about quality. We're forgetting about deeper. We're forgetting about us. It's so easy for your business to overtake your identity because, truthfully, there will always be another goal. There will always be another opportunity for something different, something bigger, something more. That will always be there. But I remember hitting year after year after year, watching my revenue grow after each kid, transforming my business. And finally, I got to a point where I had had my best year ever. And there was all of a sudden this sinking feeling of realizing that I felt nothing. The apathy was so strong. I had completely numbed myself because for so many years, it was always about forward. It was always about what's next. What is the next goal? What is the next thing I'm chasing? What is the next book that I'm reading? What is the next thing that I'm launching? What's next? What's next? What's next? And there's nothing wrong with having those aspirations. And I don't ever foresee myself or any of the people that I work with not having big aspirations and big goals. The problem is that we need to have better balance between our aspirations, our desire for greatness and bigger and more, with our ability to enjoy and have contentment in what we've already built. And a lot of times we just are so afraid of experiencing and feeling what is right in front of us because our mind starts to race with, well, if I slow down, I'll lose it all. If I don't go after this next thing, then I won't get there quick enough. And then things will start to slow down. And we start to catastrophize and we start to spiral and we start to go down these deep, dark holes that put us back in the position of scarcity, that put us back in the position of like, I have to keep pushing. But let me ask you this, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when you're looking back and you're having conversations with your children, what do you want those conversations to be about? The guilt that we feel as mothers and entrepreneurs is heavy and it's hard and it serves a purpose, right? This stuck feeling of, well, I can't slow down because it will fall apart is actually of our own design, because we're never giving ourselves the opportunity to think about if we could actually redesign our businesses in a way that would allow for both. We don't know what that looks like because we're in that constant chase of what's next. And we're forgetting that what is next and the chase of what's next and the thrill of what's next is an addiction. And the busyness is something that we're addicted to because we're trying to numb other things. And so I'm not sure what happened exactly in which strategic business growth became at the expense of our well-being. But you should know by now that that's not what we do here, that this is the space for both, that this is about you evolving not just as a business owner, but as a woman, as a mother, as a leader, as a human first. So when you're navigating the season of, I'm here, I got to where I always wanted to be, I checked the boxes that I had written down, I achieved the things that I said I always wanted, and your desire is to just then put another finish line and another finish line. What I'm asking you to do is not to put the goals, not to stop putting the goals there. What I'm asking you to do is enjoy the space between. I'm asking you to actually make time and space and to develop your business and shift your business in a way to where the goals and the bigger and the better and the more are inevitable, but they aren't at the expense of the present day and the present moment. I know exactly what this feels like. I know what it's like to be the financial provider. I know what it's like to come from scarcity. I know what it's like to feel like you are in the most chicken and egg catch-22 situation. And what's interesting is that this happens at every single level of business. I have clients who are scaling to multiple six figures, and I have clients who have surpassed seven figures. And yet there is this constant, right? To where it's never enough. So how do we actually do both? How do we honor our ambition? How do we land in this season of now what? How do we find that balance? How do we find contentment and ambition and let them live in the same room together? We have to embrace the fear that arises in our minds. It tells us we're going to fail if we aren't constantly working, if we aren't constantly thinking about work, if we aren't constantly creating things for the business. We have to let those thoughts be there and recognize that right now, the data that you have tells you that you have arrived where you are in your business because you have kept pushing, because you have worked so hard, because you haven't quit, because you have been resilient, because you have been independent, because you kept showing up. I know this. I am this. But damn, sometimes you just realize how tired you are. Not because your body and your brain can't keep going, but when you wake up and you realize that you have no identity outside of your business, you have no hobbies, your relationships feel distant, that there's no real depth in your life, this is where we have to evaluate deeper. So how do we find what enough looks like? How do we live in contentment with our ambition? I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. I want you to ask yourself, number 1, what do you really want? Because a lot of times with almost all of my clients, the goals that they have set are goals that they saw somebody else in their industry had. They are goals that they thought they should have because that's just the next step. And isn't it funny to create essentially a corporate ladder that maybe you exited out of to get into entrepreneurship and recreate that same type of model because you feel like it makes you good enough when you keep achieving? So what do you really want? When you wake up in the morning, how do you want to feel? When you step into working for the day, how do you want that to look? How do you want it to feel? How much do you actually want to be working? What things do you actually still enjoy and love in your business? Sometimes it's easier to answer the question of what do you really want by identifying what you don't want. What are you experiencing right now that doesn't feel good? Which parts of your business are you holding on to that are no longer aligned? What are you pushing for and striving for because you think it's what you're supposed to do, not because it's what you actually want? What do you actually want? And the next question is, why do you want that? Why does it feel important to you? I cannot count the number of times when somebody tells me they want to reach a certain milestone. When I ask my clients who come to me they want to scale to 7 figures, and I'm like, let's do it. Why do you want that? Many times they haven't even thought about it. It's just an unconscious, well, that's the next step. Once you hit 6 figures, then you go for 7. Sure. Why? It's the depth that's missing. It's the purpose. It's the intentionality behind it. We deserve to be wildly wealthy. I believe that every woman should make over 7 figures. I believe that every woman should be a millionaire or a multimillionaire because we do good things. We don't need to have shame around making a lot of money. But when you're making a lot of money right now, if you're somebody who's making multiple 6 and 7 figures and you're making all this money and you feel nothing, what is the point? Why was that the goal? Are we chasing that goal to try to fill a different area of us that's not being fulfilled? Why is that the goal? So let me share this with you as an example. I have a mastermind. It's called Freedom Collective. It was built from the deepest part of my heart that knew that there was no space in which there was connection and community on a deeper level, not transactional, for entrepreneur mothers that could seamlessly combine these strategic, tactical steps to take with the internal changes that needed to be made. It was a space that I created because there was no space like that for me. And it is a space, like all of the other spaces I built, that is built from my story of not having a present mother and becoming a mother as an entrepreneur who knew I didn't want to give up one or the other, who has been on a quest to find and build businesses that give you both. So when I open the doors to Freedom Collective, the goal is to fill the Freedom Collective. That goal comes from my desire for legacy. That goal comes from the ripple effect that I know will occur when women who have real connection, real friendships, real strategy, and real internal change that absolutely creates goals, results, relationships, and everything that they want, but they get to feel it. They get to experience it differently. There's plenty of masterminds that are simply about scaling numbers, but there's not a lot of people who lead those masterminds who are willing to sit in the shit with you, who are willing to ask the tough questions, who are willing to challenge you to become who you need to be, who are willing to ask you the hard questions like I'm asking today. So going back to my questions, when you establish goals for your business or yourself, asking the question of why does this matter? Why is this important to you? So what do you really want? Why do you want that? And are these goals actually yours? Are these goals actually yours? Or are you just doing what you thought you should do? There was a period of time in my business where many advisory firms, coaching businesses, consulting firms, they build a quantity-based model, is what we'll call it. And this is where there are many different tiers of working with people that all have lower and higher access, right? Lower and higher touch. And so there was this wave of you need to create a digital course, you need to have multiple courses, you need to have passive income, you need to create a membership. And for me, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to follow. And then I felt this like knowing, right? Of that doesn't feel in alignment for me. And knowing that making that choice to not run a quantity-based business where I don't have a community of hundreds of people would affect me financially, it's a scary choice to make. But in those moments, I'm like, okay, I can choose that path. But if that path doesn't feel right to me, because I would not be able to give as much of myself and my expertise, my attention in that way that I desire to give, that I pride myself on depth. And so I couldn't do that. And truthfully, I tried and it didn't work the way that I wanted it to. and it didn't work because I didn't want it to work. And so there's something in your business right now that you're doing because other people in your industry have done it that way, that I want to give you permission to choose a different way. You forget that not only are you the CEO of your business, but you're the creator of your life. And if something doesn't feel aligned to you, there's a reason for that. So are the goals that you're setting actually yours? So I want you to ask yourself these questions, because you're going to keep ending up in this place of, I did it, now what? You're going to keep feeling that pull for more and bigger. And I want you to honor that. But there's one other thing that I want you to do that's going to help you in finding that beautiful balance between your ambition and contentment. You've probably heard a lot of talk about presence and developing presence. And you're like, yeah, but what does that actually look like? Sometimes we need physical barriers from the things that are keeping us from being present. This is why I have 2 separate phones. This is why I will often leave, obviously, my work phone in my office, but my personal phone on the counter when we're outside. So what physical barriers do you need to allow yourself to be in your life? Because in order to learn how to enjoy your life, you first need to be in it. Where are you avoiding being in your life? Where are you distracting yourself with busyness? What parts of your business are so heavy, so disorganized? Or how are you not communicating effectively to your clients or your team what your boundaries are, what communications need to look like? Where is people pleasing and perfectionism still sneaking into your business? So I want you to create what's called an exploration list. In order for us to find the beautiful balance of ambition and contentment, we need to first learn how to be in our lives. And we have to learn how to be in our lives by forcing ourselves to be in our lives by removing anything that would distract us from doing that. You have to reteach yourself how to feel, how to truly and fully experience. And then I want you to make what I call an exploration list. An exploration list is a simple list of things that you would like to try, things that you have always been too busy for, things that you have been too scared to do, things that you have told yourself that you thought looked exciting or thought looked cool, places that you thought looked interesting. This could be as simple as a certain coffee shop in the area. This could be as deep as a certain type of retreat. It could be traveling to places. It could be a workout class. It's just putting yourself in new environments that you've had wishful thinking around and allowing yourself to be there. Because the truth is, wealth, true wealth, the luxury of wealth, only feels luxurious when you're actively enjoying everything that it's created for you. You might be taking the trips. You might be a person who is earning $10 million a year and has everything that anybody could ever want, but it doesn't feel like that. And that's because in the back of your mind, you're so afraid of losing it all that you're not allowing yourself to fully experience or enjoy it. And so I'm inviting you to do that today. I want you to answer the 3 questions. I want you to think about what physical barriers you need to be in your life. And then I want you to make this exploration list. And I want you to send me a message on Instagram. And I want you to tell me one thing that you put on your exploration list so that I can hold you accountable to showing up for that, to doing it for yourself, for taking a step towards real wealth and proving and gathering the data that your next big milestone is going to be hit, and going to be the process to that milestone can actually feel good, can actually feel better, can actually be blissful. You can actually feel happy, not just performative. I hope that this episode has helped you today. I cannot wait to hear what you put on your list. I hope this has given you permission to change things in the business that are no longer aligned. But more than anything, I hope it's given you permission to really look at and remember that you are the creator and that you get to make the choices that are going to benefit you, your life, and your future today. And I want you to make powerful, powerful decisions. And on this episode, I spoke briefly about the Freedom Collective. So if you are a mother, you're running a business, you're scaling your business, you have this desire for financial freedom, but you want to do it right. You want to have time freedom. You want to be with your kids. You want to be able to fully feel and experience all life has to offer. And you know that you need clear direction. You need the right strategies. You need the tactical implementation. And you need a partner in your business that can give you that. But you also have this deep craving for friendships and community and women who will see you, hear you, and understand where you are. I want to let you know that the Freedom Collective doors are actually open. And that means that today you can go in the show notes and you can apply to join this small, intimate mastermind that is built for entrepreneurial mothers. This is your space to get the tactical, strategical guidance paired with the internal and personal development for your leadership that is going to create life-changing results for your business, for you, and for your family. Results that are going to multiply your income, but not at the expense of your life. Results that are going to bring you so close to yourself and developing your confidence and your conviction to your work that you can move differently instead of letting perfectionism and people pleasing and the bullshit get in the way. Freedom Collective was made for you. Freedom Collective is about true freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of finances, and building true wealth that is going to be the foundation that lasts a lifetime. We are going to spend a year together diving deep into your business operations, your business structure, and who you are, so that at the end of our year together, you are a brand new leader who is confident, strong, owning your market, and making millions. This is possible for you. Head to the show notes, apply to join us today. We will review your application. You will have a one-to-one call with me so I can answer all of your questions about the program, about our time together. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll talk to you next week.